The eastern cliffs loomed high above the Sea of Nazur. It is here, beyond the eastern walls of King Draven's castle, where the wind howls and the waves crash against black rocks, that the Dragonborn honor their dead. The funeral pyre was built upon a rise of black stone that looked out over the sea. At dawn, on the plinth, lay Prince Voldhar in his polished armor. Beside him lay his dragon sibling Vol. They were never separated in life. They would not be separated in death. Dragonborn soldiers lined the stairs and pathway to the pyre, honoring their dead prince. The flame speaker stood tall at the foot of the obsidian platform, holding the dragon flame's staff. The sound reverberated as he struck the butt against the stone. Voldhar, son and heir of Ormrond, you were forged beneath storm cloud and star. Your light burned fiercely. And Vol, shadow of his soul, you guarded his flame as was your secret charge. In death, as in life, you are one. May your flames find each other beyond this world. And with that, he lit the pyre with his flaming staff. Bound in flame, he called out. Bound in flame, the crowd replied. King Draven stood at the cliff edge, unmoving. Behind him gathered his court, warriors and elders. Opposite them, a delegation from Eryndel, in silver and white, standing silent and respectful. King Gerwan, Prince Githandor, and Princess Galea, silently watching the proceedings. Princess Takaya was with her father, her dragon Tark around her shoulders, its eyes filled with grief, but ever watchful. Draven spoke. When Voldhar was young, he and his dragon would chase storms, reckless, unyielding. I told him one day it would cost him everything, but I did not think that day would come so soon. The wind rose, carrying ash from the pyre into the sky. My son's rage became his weapon and his undoing. Takaya stepped forward. Father? I need to know. Did you command Tark? No, father, she answered. It was Voldhar's fury that breathed through Vol. Tark only protected me. The bond does not lie. Where one burns, the other follows. Draven looked across at Githandor, who held his gaze. He studied him long, and then gave a slow nod. My son's rage became his weapon, and his undoing. And so it is done. The king turned to leave the scene, and the crowd slowly followed. There were murmurings amongst the court. The elves could feel their unease, and tension was rising in the air as the funeral pyre burned. Later, the court assembled in the throne room. King Draven sat solemnly, assessing the gathered crowd, his own dragon sibling Dre curled at his feet. He spoke slowly and seriously. I know that my council demands blood, Draven said. The elves looked around them nervously. A stir ran through the Dragonborn ranks. They say an elf prince stood beside my daughter while my son died. All eyes shifted to Githandor. They say that the elven prince is to blame. The silence tightened. Then Takaya stepped forward, her voice steady. "Then they are wrong, Father. Voldhar would not listen. He would not yield. Tark defended me as she is bound to do." Her hand rested lightly against her dragon's neck. "If you seek blame, then place it where it belongs, on Voldhar's pride." The air in the room was tense. Then Galea stepped forward. "Your son's death carves a double path into the future," she said. Dravan regarded her. "One path may lead to war, and the other path to peace and truth. My betrothal to Voldhar was meant to secure peace between our nations," she continued. "But it was a decision without consent of heart, and Voldhar resented it." The Dragonborn murmured, some in agreement, some in disapproval. "But there is another path, my lord, a peaceful solution." She turned and gestured to her brother and to Kaya. Githandor stepped beside Takaya and took her hand. "I stand with her," he said. Takaya met her father's gaze. "And I with him." Dravan's expression hardened, not in anger but in testing. "You would bind yourself now?" he asked. "So soon after your brother's ashes have not yet cooled?" Takaya's voice softened. "This is the way of peace, Father. I choose him." Githandor added, "And I will be hers, if you will allow it." The murmurings continued. Dravan descended from his throne and stood before them both. "You speak of choice," he said. He looked from one to the other. "My son is gone," he said. "Fury led to his death. I will not let fury hinder my decision. Neither will I lose my daughter to bitterness as well." A ripple passed through the corpse. "Then hear me." His voice rose, not in anger, but in command. "Omerond will not declare war. Instead, we will honor what remains." He took Takaya's hand, then placed it in Githandor's. "If this bond endures, it will unite our kingdoms, not by a bargain, but by a greater strength, by choice and hearts freely given." Then Dravan turned to Galea with a voice of finality. "The bond between you and Voldhar is now ended." Galea bowed her head. "May his fire be remembered," she said softly. Dravan inclined his head in return. King Gerwan stepped forward. "Then let this be witnessed," he said, "not as the breaking of an alliance, but its rebirth." Dravan nodded. All had become quiet on the Skargarden Sea. Lord Org was becoming restless and frustrated. He no longer sensed the orb and knew that he was wasting time. He returned to the shore and bided his time in the elven port of Skaga. Here he planned his next move. In a chamber above a fisherman's inn, he took out his scrying mirror. He focused his mind on the orb, and at his touch, the cloudy images swirled and danced, until finally a picture formed. Slowly at first, but then became clearer, that of mountains, waterfalls, and an elven castle high on a cliff. Yes, of course. Org had a great sense of excitement. The two most powerful objects, held by the High Elves, were now together in the very same place. How very convenient. The last time he wished to overthrow the elves, He tried with force and war, but to no avail. This time he would use all his guile, stealth, and his accumulated powerful crystals to eventually retrieve both his lost Orb of Power and the Book of Light together. He would be unstoppable. He smiled to himself. The orb will remember me. It will guide me. Gaeldor had returned with the orb to their stronghold castle at Fjelfothrin. It had been decided to place it for safekeeping in a vault in the Druid temple. Here it stood on a pedestal in the center of the vault. No sign of life pulsating from it, just a cold stone sphere with its strange runes encircling it. King Gerwan and Princess Galea had returned to the castle after the tragic events in Ormond. Prince Githendor had remained behind with Princess Takaya as preparations were being made for their bonding ceremony. As Galea gazed out of her chamber window that evening, she looked up and saw the strange constellation of stars appearing now around the waning moon. The same pattern as on the precious Book of Light, and she felt a sense of destiny and calling. Her heart and her mind reached out for Thoran. She had to see him. The next day, Galea rode with a sense of purpose and destiny down the mountainside toward the fantasy forest, her heart beating in her chest. She rode for most of the day, with creatures and fae of the forest stopping to welcome her along the way. Her heart lightened, unburdened. Behind her lay duty and grief. Before her, she dreamed something honest and true. The air was scented with pine and oak, damp bark, and sweet green grass. Her heart welled with memories spent with Thoran within the lush forest. Thoran was at that moment returning from the woodland elf village, where he had been visiting his family. He rode slowly through the forest, his deep connection with nature taking in every smell, every sound, every shift. Then he stopped in his saddle, sensing a change in the air, a subtle presence emanating from the roots and leaves. His heart missed a beat. Could it be? He dismounted his horse, his hand connecting with the gnarled bark of an ancient tree. A nearby deer stopped in its path, its ears twitching. Thoran closed his eyes and listened. Distant hoofbeats. Between the tall trunks and shafts of drifting golden light, a figure slowly emerged. Galea rode into view, her horse stepping lightly over roots and moss. She was not dressed as a princess, but in green travel clothes suitable for the forest. His breath caught in his throat as he saw her. Their eyes met. She slid from her saddle, her boots touching the soft earth with hardly a sound. Neither spoke at first, their minds full of everything that had come before: love, loss, choice, duty, change. Why was she here? His mind raced. She walked towards him. "I am freed," she whispered. "The bond, the path that was chosen for me. I am freed, Thoran. I am yours." Thoran's eyes welled with tears. Could this be true? Was this real? He had dreamed of this moment so many times, he couldn't bear for her image to dissolve in front of him, as if all a dream. He moved towards her. She was real. She was here. He drew her to him, strong, certain he would never let her go. Around them the forest stirred. Leaves whispered overhead. The forest bore witness in approval. Org took the same chartered vessel from Port Skaga and sailed up the river Erin until he reached the Five Sisters. He recognized this place immediately from an image in his scrying mirror. From here he traveled on foot, snaking upwards along the trodden mountain passes. He had with him 3 of his magical crystals, forged in the fire mountains of the frozen north. One with power to blind with its light, another with power to confuse the mind, and finally, the last crystal with power to call his orb to him. As he reached the golden gates of the castle at eventide, he saw the elven silver guards on patrol. He took out the first crystal and held it high in the air. He chanted a command in his dark elven tongue.
Humor harionidur, seriarundomilidur.
And the crystal began to radiate a dazzling light, so much so that as he flashed the crystal, the blinding light scattered over the battlements into the eyes of the elven guards. He heard their cries as they held their eyes and cowered to protect themselves from the painful, glaring light all around them. Org gave a wry smile and threw a bolt of lightning towards the gates, which burst open, enabling him to continue into the courtyard beyond unchallenged. Everywhere he walked, he scattered the merciless, dazzling light on anyone that could challenge him. On reaching internal corridors, he came upon more elven silver guards. He took out his second crystal. As he held it in his hand and chanted into it, it began to pulse with an internal power. It released a shockwave that reverberated around the corridors with a high-pitched hum. The guards all held their ears in pain as the reverberations numbed their minds. They fell to the floor, holding their heads dazed and confused. Org stepped over them all and continued on. Then finally, the call. He would use his last crystal to call the Orb of Power and sense its location. He took out the crystal and whispered into it. The crystal answered with a low hum and began to pulse. Across the courtyard in the Druid temple, the orb began to flicker on its pedestal. No longer a cold relic, but pulsating with the rhythms of the heavens above. Alive! Org's eyes lit with triumph as he once again felt the orb's presence. It was close. He was guided by the hum of the last crystal out into the courtyard, where more silver guards were stationed outside the temple. Once again he used his crystals to blind and numb their minds as he blatantly continued into the temple. The orb hovered above the plinth, glowing with an internal light and sending out a low hum. Org reached out and commanded, "Come to me!" The orb hovered, unmoving, as if remembering, then began to glide through the air, remembering its old master. "Yes, you remember, you were always mine, and now I will also take the Book of Light, and my power will be unstoppable." He took out his third crystal and whispered, "Take me to the Book of Light." Meanwhile, far above in the High Library, King Gerwan, Gildor and Galea were meeting with Aldher and Jehedra. Aldher had called the king urgently to witness a change in the Book of Light. They were all fascinated to see that the book was now glowing and the constellation of stars on the cover was shimmering. Jehedra pointed outside to the constellation in the sky, which was now much more prominent and luminous and shimmering in a similar way. "This is it! This is the moment!" Jehedra began. "What do you mean?" replied King Garwan. "Do you see? The book! It has been waiting for this moment. Portheus must have riven a spell for it to awaken when the heavens returned to this very same alignment. Bring the orb here now. We need it. I think somehow the three must merge together at this point in time." Garwan and Gildor looked at each other. Then suddenly the book flipped open, its pages spilling out a shimmering light that filled the library with shifting stars and constellations. The air around them shimmered with power. Unknown to them, ascending the great staircase was Org. He felt it and rushed up the final stairs carrying the glowing orb in his hands. He entered the library. The elves gasped. Garwan immediately stepped between Org and the book. "You will come no further," he commanded. "Do not stand in my way, elf," he answered. "This is my moment. Both elements of great power in my grasp. The orb is mine. It chose me. The book shall be mine too. The orb was never yours. You only found it first. It has been waiting for this moment," replied Jehedra, her voice cutting through the tension. "This power cannot be taken. It is power only for unity, for balance, for harmony, for the people." "Bah!" cried Org, and reached to grasp the book. But the orb now pulled away from his grasp, gliding with purpose towards the book. "Come to me," Org commanded. But the orb began to descend, as if pulled by an imaginary force towards the Book of Light, settling within its glowing pages, returning as if to a cradle. Two artifacts now finding each other. The constellation in the sky now pulsed with magical energy, and a shaft of celestial light filled the room. Org lurched forward to seize the merged glowing objects. The book flared suddenly at his presence, shaking violently with a tremendous surge of powerful light that engulfed Org, consuming him, revealing him. And then he vanished in a flash. He had been swallowed within the light. The light faded. The book settled. The orb rested within its pages, quietening. The constellation dimmed. The moment passed. No one moved. No one spoke. Until Galea finally said, "Is it over?" King Garwan placed his hand on the now quiet book. "No, it has begun," he said quietly. "A new age of peace. Power has returned to the world, but this time it has chosen wisely. The book and orb were not weapons, but only sources of power to be used for the good of the world." It was early morning in Ormond. The sun was just beginning to rise over the Sea of Nazur. High on the eastern cliffs, of King Draven's stronghold, a circle of flaming dragon torches stood proud, their embers floating skyward in the dawn breeze. Around it stood King Draven and a company of Dragonborn nobles, with expressions of pride, grief, and wary acceptance. In the center of the circle stood Githindor and Takaya. The flame speaker began. What is joined here this day cannot be unmade. Do you accept this bond freely between yourselves and your kingdoms? He looked from one to the other, who continued their loving gaze. We do, they spoke as one. Takaya held out her clawed hands, which were taken by Githindor. The flame speaker then bound their hands with black leather bands, weaving between their fingers. Then let it be known that a new bond is forged between Elf and Dragonborn, Takaya and Githindor, not in duty, but by choice. May they have the courage to endure. They looked at each other and smiled as the embers drifted around them, and the rays of the newly risen sun bathed their faces. The High Elves, Woodland Elves, and Fae Folk all gathered on the mountainside at the Vale of Memory in quiet respect and anticipation. The vast gnarled oak that was the Tree of Light rose from the glade like an ancient monument. Beneath its branches, Aldher presided over the bonding ceremony. His voice commanded the moment, his demeanor quiet and absolute like the deep roots beneath their feet. To one side stood Thuran, adorned in green and gold, with his bronze circlet of leaves set amongst green stones, Lord of the Forest. To the other side stood Galea, her garments matching those of Thuran in simple green and gold, her hair unbound with a circlet of woven mountain flowers. They held each other's hands and held each other's gaze. Aldher began. This place, the Vale of Memory, remembers not names or titles, but truths, and here it is only that which is freely given that may endure. He gestured to them both, calling them towards the tree. Galea placed her hands upon the gnarled bark and closed her eyes. She felt the internal pulse of the Tree of Light, and she breathed deeply. Her voice was steady. I stand here, Galea of the High Elves, and choose Thuran of the Woodland Elves freely to be my life partner. Then Thuran moved forward, placing both his hands on the bark of the tree. I stand here, Thuran of the Woodland Elves, and choose Galea of the High Elves freely to be my life partner. They both felt the pulsing of the life blood under their fingers. Aldher then raised his hands. Then let the tree remember the truth between you. Suddenly from the bark, where their hands rested, faint lines of light emerged like tiny golden roots, encircling their hands with a golden light, not binding, but caressing, soft, gentle light, warm and alive. These are the veins of remembrance. Let it be known that what is joined here is held by truth. Galea and Thuran spoke as one. We choose, and we receive it freely. The glowing roots dissolved into their skin. They stepped towards one another and embraced. From now on, Galea will become another protector of the fantasy forest, alongside her lord, Thuran, as Lady of the Forest. With King Gerwan's blessing, and with the strength of the kingdom behind her, She will become a bridge between the court and the woodland, a symbol of a new era. And high within the castle of Fielfosseren, a new chamber has been carved into the face of the mountain, with a shaft cutting through the stone, revealing the night sky above. At the heart of this sanctuary, a raised dais of marble at the very point where heaven and earth meet. On the dais lies the Book of Light, and the orb resting within its pages of soft light, shimmering gently, together as one. No guards stand watch here. The sanctuary is guarded by intent. The artifacts will not respond to those who come here with greed, fear, or anger. Only those who come here with unity and balance may stand within. A place not where things are hidden away, but where they wait, where power is held in trust. The High Elves are now the stewards and protectors of the artifacts, until the stars align once again at the beginning of the next long night.